4:23 a.m. I didn't imagine it. I'm not fucking insane. My vision may have been distorted as a result of my excessive alcohol consumption, but I know what I saw and I know that it is real. I've been sitting in a bathtub full of cold water for the past hour to try to shake the feeling of being covered in blood. Her blood. 5 hours earlier, it must have been about 11 p.m. when I stumbled through my front door. Perhaps stumbled is an understatement, as I quite literally collapsed from how mentally exhausted I was, and all I wanted to do was sleep. It had been exactly 6 months since Hannah went missing, and despite my efforts of distracting myself, I knew it would take more than several vodka shots and that burning sensation that it left in my throat to stop me from thinking about her. Hannah is my younger sister. She's introverted, yet somewhat jittery, 16-year-old who always looked unsettled, which is why I don't believe she ran away. No, she was kidnapped. The last person that saw Hannah on the night of her disappearance was her friend, as she was leaving the party she was at, until I walked into my kitchen and saw her sitting on my floor tonight. Hannah? I spluttered as I rubbed my eyes, trying to adjust my sight to the dark room. There was no response. She was sitting on the floor with her back against the fridge, hugging her knees into her chest without hesitation. I slammed my fist against the light switch to illuminate the room, but before I could run towards her, there were 3 loud bangs against my window. I looked up to see my sister, Hannah, on the other side of the glass. Although her voice was muffled, the terror-stricken expression on her face, which was covered in smudged makeup, made it clear what she was saying. In between the sobs, she was telling me to get out. I switched my attention to the girl who was sitting on the floor, who was now staring at me. I swiftly turned around and grabbed the door handle, but the door wouldn't open. The handle wouldn't even turn. While I was frantically trying to move the handle, I locked eyes with the girl in my kitchen, who was now slowly standing up. She wore the same baggy, faded pink sweater that Hannah always wore. However, it was ripped and soaked in blood, which caused the material to cling to her petite frame. I glanced over to the window, but Hannah was no longer there. She was gone. Had she gone to get help? I vigorously slammed my body repeatedly into the door in a futile attempt to open it. Then she started to speak, and my whole body froze. "I found you," she whispered unemotionally, not moving her empty eyes from mine. "Where the fuck is my sister?" I growled. This can't be her, I thought to myself. The way that she was menacingly glaring at me, Hannah would never look at me that way. The girl standing in front of me looked inhuman and drained of life. Even though she looked identical to Hannah, it couldn't be her. Without a doubt, it was my sister outside through the window, and I needed to get to her. I wasn't going to lose her again. Suddenly, the girl threw herself into me and wrapped her arms around my waist. I yelled as I thrust my body forwards, but she just squeezed me harder. Mindlessly, I kneed her in her stomach and reached for the kettle and swung it around at her head. As she fell to the ground, the door burst open from behind me. It was Hannah. She clung to my arm and cried while I stood in stunned silence, staring at the unconscious girl on my floor, who was now surrounded in a pool of blood. It must have been about 2 minutes that I'd stood there, but Hannah's chillingly cold hands, which were gripped so tight onto my arm, made it feel like I was standing there for hours. As cold as she felt, her fingertips burned my skin. Suddenly, she let go and walked towards the girl. She still hadn't moved an inch. Hannah pressed her fingers against the girl's neck to feel for a pulse. She waited for a few seconds and then looked up at me, shaking her head. Had I killed her? No, she was bleeding. She would have bled out anyway. I knew that I had to do something about this, but I had to sort out Hannah first. I decided I should put her to bed and we would talk about everything in the morning. I didn't want to overwhelm her. So I washed her face, tucked her into my bed, and decided that I needed to have a bath and take it all in. 4:23 a.m., I'm covered in blood of the girl, and my stomach churned at the thought of her lifeless body on my kitchen floor. She couldn't have been human. Even the way she walked made her look monstrous. Hannah hadn't spoken to me all the while I was putting her to bed, which really worried me. All she did was stare blankly at me. Coming to think of it, I swear that she didn't even blink. She must have been through a lot the past 6 months. All I need to do now is concentrate on keeping her safe. I stepped out of the bath, still feeling dazed. As much as I didn't want to deal with the dead body in my kitchen, I knew I had to before Hannah woke up. I slowly crept downstairs as the floorboards creaked beneath my feet. I stood outside the kitchen door. Why was I afraid to go in? My throat felt sore, as if I had swallowed razor blades. I gulped and pushed open the door. Gone! Everything was gone, and my kitchen had returned to its immaculate state. The body, the blood, it was gone. I stepped backwards and screamed as I nearly tripped over Hannah. I sprinted up the staircase to my bedroom where Hannah was sleeping. I pushed open my bedroom door and collapsed to my knees. My head started spinning, and all I could see was nothing but an ocean of crimson. Blood stained my carpet and had been sprayed up my walls. The dead girl from downstairs had been cut up. Parts of her body were spread all around the room, including the head, which had been decapitated. Above her sat a girl with long black hair, blacked out eyes, and ghostly pale skin. She looked up from her cupped hands, which were holding what looked like the heart of the girl, and slowly smiled at me. Her mouth dripping with blood. That's not my sister. My sister is the girl that's currently scattered around my bedroom. It was her all along. While hyperventilating and paralyzed with fear, I managed to make out the words written in blood on my wall. You chose the wrong one. Before I could catch my breath, the creature sank her teeth into the heart of my sister and croaked out, I found you.